Hey, it's Heather with Salty Vibes. I'm back for another week of my podcast, and um, the last few weeks I had a whole bunch set up so that I didn't have to think about it. So they're pre-recorded. Normally, I usually do like one a week, um, and so I honestly can't quite remember what I talked about. It's been kind of a crazy week. I had family here. I was in Hawaii. I think was the last time I recorded, or I'd just gotten home from Hawaii visiting my oldest son. Had an awesome trip with him, and then that night my mom flew in, and she's been having health stuff. So for the last several months, we've been working with that, doctor's appointments. They fly back and forth from where they live to where I live because the medical care is a little better here. Some of the specialists in Alaska come from Washington, so it's a little easier to come this direction. So um, I had some thoughts thinking about like what I talk about, and um, I was kind of thinking the last few nights, like trying to grow my life coaching business and how does that look? What does that look like? And then also at the same time, growing my real estate business, which kind of has been more in the forefront of what I'm doing. Because when, I get a listing and a buyer, the commission's really quick, and sometimes building a business takes a couple years. Get your name out there, market yourself. And I haven't always been best about marketing myself because I kind of struggle in that area. Um, it's definitely been a force to push myself to do it, put my face out there more, to try to post every day or at least every couple or times a week. For some reason real estate is easier to post because you're kind of posting about the marketing and houses, and when you're doing open houses, so I can do social media for that side a little bit easier. And I've been trying to think, like, what is it that's making me not be able to post as often for my life coaching, because that is my passion. That is where my heart lies. And they say, like, in real estate, when you're dealing with people, you're just kind of helping people. Especially real estate is like when they're selling a house, that's one of the biggest transactions of your life, monetary wise, when you got to get a loan to buy a house, and deciding if you're just going to rent or if you're going to own the house, or what are you going to do. And the same goes as in selling a home. It's very um, it can be, I guess, sentimental. Like even when I was selling my house in Alaska, it was really hard for my kids. They loved the house, and I had just had enough of it, and I didn't want to deal with it anymore. But you kind of get tied to it. You have this like ownership of it. And so, like, oh my gosh, somebody's coming in and they don't love the home the same way that I did. And they're asking me how much they want to get a deduction of how much, so it starts to become really sensitive. And so in being a life coach and then also working with people in the real estate business, you kind of goes hand in hand. But I have this like future goal in my head, the way I see like where I want my life coaching business to go, and that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. It's how do I get to that goal? And so I guess I just kind of had some thoughts this week about that. Um, how do I grow my podcast? How do I grow, to where the things that I talk about are things that you're interested in, to want to actually listen to me ramble for the next 15, 20 minutes. Of course, my friends and my family, they love it, but, not everybody else is gonna. Um, and we have so much stuff thrown at us every day, with all the social medias and all the reels and the information. I think sometimes just kind of gets, it drowns you in information. And why am I important to listen to? And I'm figuring that out. That's kind of where I'm at. Like when I decided to start Scrappy and just kind of put myself out there and just start doing this. I'm trying to figure out how to make this more personalized and more real for you, so you can be like, okay, this is why I want Heather to be my life coach. Because there's so many of us that are struggling in this area of life, and I think sometimes we need someone to talk to vent to listen, who's been in the deep dark trenches. And I'm one of those people, like, I don't love to share my stuff on like my social media, like my darkness that I've been through. But then I think, okay, well, my story is out there. I've lived it. There's a reason why I'm here. There's a reason why I was called to do life coaching. And so I guess my podcast is kind of my place where I can share that. But I still have been apprehensive about doing it, and how do I do it correctly without hurting the ones that I love or hurting people. Because I'm not angry anymore, because I forgive, because there's things that I feel like there's like a careful balance to tell that story. And I'm still working on that. But something that popped in my head today, I just dropped my family off after they've been here for like a month, um, is while they were here, there's been some things that I've kind of been like processing, which I'm always trying to do that, and always trying to live life, to love life. And we're surrounded in darkness, we're surrounded in things that people are in pain and hurting, and I'm always trying to find like the goodness and the fun, enjoying the little moments. Those are things, and that's something that I love about life coaching. Those are some of the things that I try to talk about when I share online, like being alive, just waking up and being thankful for my breath, being thankful that I get to have 3 kids that love me and that I love them, that I have a family that's loving. We're not perfect. We mess up. Sometimes we hurt each other's feelings, but at the end of the day, we come together and we love each other. And I've been in this process where I've been single for a really long time, and I've tried to date, and I've talked about it on here. I have a lot of walls up. And it's not in the fact that like I haven't dated or haven't had people interested in me, but I've just gotten to the point, especially the last several months, where I'm going to be super picky, because I've already been in a marriage that wasn't healthy for me, and it's taken a long time to get out of there. And I feel like I worked on myself so long, and I did get to the other side, but then I kind of was still struggling with stuff. And I really, like the other night, I bought end tables, and my brother helped me put them together, and I set my room up as if I was sharing my room with someone. For the longest time, I've wanted to just, I would, make the joke to my mom, like, I want a boyfriend, but I only want to see him like maybe 2 times a month, and he can come over, and then I want him to go away. And so I was kind of treating people that I was talking to, guys, were either I would almost get like this anxiousness when I started to like them too much, where I was like codependent and unhealthy, which I know is from being in an emotionally abusive marriage. But also, being in your late 40s and trying to learn how to date again is just weird, and it's hard. And it's like, I don't remember how to have a boyfriend in high school. How do I have a boyfriend as an adult? And I have my own career, and I have my own house, and my kids are grown. And it's like, how does this work? How do you do this? Are we supposed to talk every single day? Are we supposed to see each other all the time? What if I don't want to see you all the time? And so in that struggle of trying to figure out how to date, I just kind of shut down. I'm like, I just don't want to do this. I don't want to date. Or I have like people that have come into my life again, known them for a long time, guys I went to high school with or whatever. And I want to be friendly with them or friends with them. And then it doesn't work out. Or I want to be more than friends, and then it doesn't work out. So it's like, obviously, there is something wrong with me as well as maybe them, because we're all coming in our late 40s after we've all been divorced. And some of the guys I've talked to have been divorced a couple of times. And so you're bringing in all this baggage, not just childhood trauma or childhood things that you've brought in as a young teenager, or young 20-plus-year-old that you meet. Your person that you marry either in high school or college, but now we're doing this in our late 40s and 50s, coming together. And you've maybe had kids with someone else, maybe you were married for 20 plus years, you built this whole other life with this person. Now you're coming in and it's like, I gotta do this all over again. And it's weird. It is the weirdest thing ever. And so I've kind of been taking the time lately, the last few months is just, who am I? Like, what do I love? And for the longest time, like, I didn't want to decorate my house. I just wanted to keep my bed and everything. I have a giant king bed. It's like, I just want to keep this to be single. I'm okay to be single. And I have talked about, like, yes, I get lonely. I miss someone. It would be nice to have somebody. But out on the other hand, I was also like, I could really care less. So I just had this like thought, like, I don't know, maybe it's God, whatever. I don't know. My thought saying, like, prepare your room as if you're going to meet your husband or your husband is coming soon. And so I bought two end tables because I had one. I couldn't find one that matches. So I made it into like a little TV stand. And my room is all set up. Besides my closet, I got to figure out how to do that because I live in a 1958 home that I've been remodeling, and my closet is small. So I'm like, well, I have a lot of clothes. Where's my husband or, person that comes in this with me, and they move in with me, if they decide to move in with me, if that's how it worked out, where would they put their stuff? And so I'm kind of like getting those thoughts in my head, like, how do I prepare for that person? I actually want artwork on the walls. It's very minimal right now, and I'm keeping my house minimal because ever since I moved out of state and restarted, I kind of like it very simple, very simplified. And also, I don't want to spend a lot of money on stuff because I like to travel and go do fun things. And so I feel like if I live a minimalist lifestyle without all the crap and clutter that takes over my life, it can actually keep me free to do the things that I love to do. So, yeah, what does it look like? Let's say you are a single woman like me who's had to restart over in their late 40s. I had to start over my career. I had to start over um, I moved and I sold my house that I had raised our kids in, and I was in with my ex-husband, and then I bought another house, and it's like learning my own finances, learning how to make meals for just me, and sometimes my daughter, but when I have family stay, and of course I cook for them, but it's like all these changes, all these things, and it's like I've learned how to be a single woman, be very independent. How do I allow someone to come into my life that wants to help me? I've kind of pushed people away because I've learned to be so I can do it myself. And when I was married, my ex-husband, he didn't really always like to help with things. He would do the things that he wanted to do, but a long time, if it was something I asked for, it was almost like I was this burden. And so sometimes I would call my dad and ask him to help because he wouldn't do, the washing machine would be broken and it'd be weeks. I'm like, we have 3 kids. They're dirty. Like, we gotta do laundry. So I call my dad to come help. And then we get in a big fight because I would call my dad and ask for help. And he's like, what? I told you I was going to do it. I'm like, yeah, it's been like 3 weeks. We can't go 3 weeks with no laundry. I can't keep going to laundromat. It'd be stuff like that. And so all of a sudden I just learned how to do it myself. I don't even want to ask because we would get in a fight or he'd be mad at me, or, there'd just be things where it almost cause a lot of tension. So it's just like, it's easier for me to be alone and do everything on my own. And so I've gone into that mindset as being a single woman with the same thing, and asking for help is really hard for me. And I want it to not be hard for me. I want to be able to, if someone offers help, not feel guilty that I owe them. When I would have to do stuff for my ex-husband, I owed him. It was like you want me to do this for you. What are you going to do in return? And it wasn't just me. He did that with lots of people. I don't know why his mindset was that way. So I guess a lot of times, like when I ask for help or feel like I want to ask for help and I'm too afraid, is because, oh, they're gonna, be mad because I owe them back 10 times more, or I don't know. It's a weird way of thinking, but it's me learning to train my brain back to not thinking or being that way. And it's hard. It's been a process. And I do know, like, when I ever do get into a serious relationship, I hope those are things that my person can kind of work on me with, because I do know that that's something that I struggle with. And I've made a checklist of like things like, okay, I struggle with this. I struggle with this. Like, I want to work on this so that when I do find my person, so it's like a prayer to God. Like, okay, God, prepare my heart for my person that you have for me so that I can be a good wife again. I've already done the wife thing. And so it's hard to think about doing it all over again. Like, I don't want to do the wife thing and be unappreciated. And I feel like I'm getting too old for that. And so it has been easy to stay single. It has been easy to, I don't want to do the dating apps. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. And I have got really content with where I am, and I feel happy with where I am. But there is that sense of loneliness. And so I guess just talking about it, like preparing a little bit for if a future person comes into my life, how does that look? How can I be better? What can I do to fix that? And so those are just kind of some things I was thinking about. I think those are journeys we go on, especially if you have to get into any type of trauma coaching or life coaching where you're trying to figure out, like, okay, this has been a struggle for me. How do I get past this? This is a roadblock. What do I do? And changing the way our words come out of our mouth, changing the way, our thought process, um, changing some of those things, really, really important, because I think sometimes people just kind of get stuck and stay content, and then they just kind of just move through life flat, and they're okay with it. And then they get to the end of the road and the end of the day, and they're, on the deathbed, and they're like, I really didn't amount for much. And I really wish I would have done this. I really wish I would have done that. I really wish I wouldn't have had my heart so closed off. And I don't want to do that, especially like seeing my mom, dealing with her health stuff, and she's not that old. Like, I think she should be around for another 30 years. And then, my dad, he had a stroke a few years ago, and they just celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary, and they threw this huge party. We had all this family come. It was just super fun just to see people we hadn't seen in a really long time, especially because we all had left the state we'd all grown up in, and we lived in Alaska. And then now I've come back to where I grew up and reconnecting with people and family and all this stuff. And I just kind of feel like it's like a new shift in life, a new transition in life, a new um, healing direction for, yes, I came back to where I grew up. And a lot of times you think, I will never go back to my hometown, my small town that I grew up in. But I almost feel like I was supposed to come back to this place, because it was not where I was supposed to be at all. And for the first time in the last 6 years of being single, separated, and gone through a divorce, trying to date, I I wrote down in my journal, I know what I want. I know what I want now. And I didn't know what I wanted. Like, I wanted to run. Like, I kept feeling that urge. Like, I just need to run. I just need to go away, because this is not where I'm supposed to be. I didn't plan to be in this town again. I didn't plan to be back here. I feel stuck. Like, those were thoughts that would run through my head. And some of that is the fight or flight mode that you go through when you've gone through trauma and you've gone through, abuse or emotional abuse of any kind. If you ever do trauma coaching, those are things you kind of learn about, the grief wheel and stuff like that. And I was in that for a long time. Um, and I just realized when I wrote that down the other night, like, I know what I want. I know I'm supposed to be where I am at this moment in life. And maybe in 2 years it changes, but right now, this is where I'm supposed to be. And it makes me feel joyful and happy and content, but also knowing that, like, I am working and striving more towards life, and I'm working on the path to get to my next place. And, in 2 years, maybe less, this could totally change. But today, right now, in this moment, I know where I'm supposed to be. And so I hope that when you listen to this, when you listen to my podcast, when you choose me as your life coach, we can help you find that spot where you're just like, I'm okay. I'm okay today. I'm going to be all right. And we don't always all get there. And I guess that's something that I just love about life coaching is it's just a little bit of questions, a little bit of a mindset shift, a thought process like, oh, I can change the words that come in my mouth. I can change the thoughts that are in my head and have a whole different path, a whole different direction, a whole different outlook on life in the next 6 months to a year. And I would love to help you with that. So if you are interested in that, please click on my links below. I'd love to get your information. We can do a free 30-minute session. Otherwise, just listen to my podcast. I hope the little tidbits I give you, so me rambling about my life. I do have some people that I've talked about possibly getting in so I can do another couple interviews like I'd done with my brothers and my son. I do think it's kind of cool to get someone else's direction and struggle in life and testimony and story. And I'm also still kind of working on how to tell my story without hurting people. But again, I thank you for listening. I thank you for subscribing to my podcast, my YouTube. Follow my Instagram page. You can find everything in the notes. And I hope you all have a great week, and I will be back next week.